Welcome to Sleepy Tales. My name is Mateus, and before we begin today's story, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below saying, "I'll sleep well tonight." Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into tonight's tale. Emily had always been drawn to the macabre. As a writer of horror, she was constantly seeking inspiration for her next masterpiece. So, when she stumbled upon the town of Ravenwood, with its eerie, misty forests and strange, foreboding atmosphere, she knew she had found the perfect setting for her next book. Emily arrived in Ravenwood on a dark, autumn evening. The leaves on the trees were turning gold and red, and the air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. As she drove into the town, she noticed that the streets were empty, and the houses all looked dark and abandoned. It was as if the town was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Undeterred by the eerie silence, Emily set up her writing studio in a small cottage on the outskirts of town. As she began to work on her novel, she started to hear strange noises in the woods at night. At first, she thought it was just her imagination, but as the nights went on, the noises grew louder and more persistent. One evening, as she was taking a walk in the woods, she stumbled upon an old abandoned house. It was dilapidated and covered in vines, with broken windows and a sagging roof. As she approached the house, she felt a chill run down her spine. It was as if the house was alive, and it was watching her. Despite her fear, Emily felt drawn to the house. She could hear a voice whispering to her, calling her name. She pushed open the creaky door and stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and cobwebs, and the floorboards creaked under her feet. As she explored the house, she noticed strange symbols carved into the walls and floors. She had never seen anything like it before. As she continued to explore, she stumbled upon an old diary hidden in a secret compartment in the wall. It belonged to a woman named Mary, who had lived in Ravenwood over a century ago. As Emily read through the diary, she discovered that Mary had been accused of witchcraft and had been burned at the stake in the town square. Emily couldn't believe what she was reading. Witchcraft? Burning at the stake? It seemed like something out of a medieval fairy tale. But the more she read, the more she realized that there was something sinister going on in Ravenwood. The townspeople had accused Mary of witchcraft, but what if they were wrong? What if Mary had been innocent all along? As Emily delved deeper into the history of Ravenwood, she discovered that Mary's curse had been passed down through generations of her descendants. Emily was shocked to realize that she was one of Mary's descendants, and that the curse had been awakened by her presence in the town. The curse had brought darkness and destruction to Ravenwood for over a century. But Emily knew that she had the power to break it. With the help of a local historian, she began to research ways to break the curse. They discovered that the only way to break the curse was to find and destroy a powerful talisman that had been hidden by Mary before she was burned at the stake. Emily and the historian set out to find the talisman, but it wasn't easy. They had to navigate treacherous terrain and face all kinds of obstacles. But they persevered, and finally, they found the talisman hidden in an old abandoned church. As Emily held the talisman in her hands, she felt a surge of energy flow through her. She knew that this was her chance to break the curse once and for all. She led the historian back to the town, determined to end the curse and bring peace to Ravenwood. But as they approached the town square, they realized that something was wrong. The sky had turned dark, and the air was thick with an otherworldly energy. The townspeople had gathered in the square, and they were chanting in a language that Emily couldn't understand. They were all dressed in black robes, and they were holding torches. Emily and the historian approached cautiously, holding the talisman in their hands. As they got closer, they realized that the townspeople were not just chanting, they were performing a dark ritual. They had created a circle of salt and were preparing to sacrifice a young woman. Emily knew that she had to act fast. She stepped forward and held up the talisman. "Stop this madness," she shouted. "The curse ends now." The townspeople turned to face her, their eyes glowing with a strange, unearthly light. "You cannot stop the curse," they said in unison. "It is too powerful." But Emily refused to back down. She held up the talisman and chanted an ancient incantation. Suddenly, a bright light filled the square, and the townspeople screamed in terror. The ground shook, and the trees swayed, as if caught in a powerful storm. When the light faded, Emily and the historian looked around in amazement. The townspeople had vanished, and the air was clear and still. The curse had been broken, and Ravenwood was finally at peace. As Emily drove out of Ravenwood, she couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. She had broken the curse and saved the town from darkness. But she also knew that she would never forget the experience. Ravenwood had changed her, and she would always be drawn to the macabre and the mysterious. As she drove down the winding road, she noticed a strange figure in the rearview mirror. It was a woman in a long, black robe, with piercing green eyes. Emily gasped and swerved the car, but when she looked back, the figure had vanished. It was then that Emily realized the true nature of the curse. It wasn't just a curse on Ravenwood, it was a curse on her bloodline. And it was far from over. Thank you for listening to this bedtime story, and remember, if you struggle with falling or staying asleep at night, click on the first link in the description for the ultimate solution to your problem. Now, choose one of these two videos and continue on our journey in the world of bedtime stories.